Hello, I'm Doug Smith, and this is another edition of It's the Economy. Today we have with us George Forbush, who's the chairman of the Portsmouth Art and Cultural Center Committee. Welcome, George.
Thank you.
One of the first questions I had when I was reading some material about your organization is, how does the Art and Cultural Center Committee relate to the Arts Guild in Portsmouth?
Okay, well, really there are two separate organizations, as you've identified them. The Portsmouth Arts Guild was formed in the early 2000s, I think 2001, 2002, and it's an arts organization that's designed to promote all of the arts in the community, visual arts as well as performing arts. And as I say, that organization was started in 2001. In 2006, it achieved status as a nonprofit 501c3 organization, and at about that same time, it acquired its first home at St. Paul's Parish House in Portsmouth. And primarily, the Arts Guild has been involved in exhibiting art, primarily in the visual arts, as well as a limited amount of art classes. Limited again by the space in the parish hall. The Portsmouth Arts and Culture Committee, on the other hand, was formed by the Portsmouth Town Council in 2008 and charged specifically with one task, basically, and that was to look at the feasibility of developing an arts center in the town of Portsmouth. Looking at the feasibility in terms of programming, what might be an appropriate site, and how such an arts center might be financed. The two are somewhat related, the Arts Guild and the Arts and Culture Committee, since I'd say approximately half the people on the Arts and Culture Committee also happen to be members of the Portsmouth Arts Guild. During the last 3.5 years that the Arts and Culture Committee has been operating, we've had, I believe, 19 people serving on that committee, and again, about half of those people are or were members of the Portsmouth Arts Guild.
So you have about 19 members, generally speaking?
Yeah, it's varied. We've been at this project for about 3.5 years, and as you might guess, it's difficult sometimes to keep people actively involved for 3.5 years. So we've had new additions during that period of time, as well as some people dropping off the committee. It's interesting that there are two other prominent arts groups in Portsmouth. One is Common Fence Music, and Tom Perotti, who basically runs that operation, has been part of our committee from the outset. And as you may know, there's also a Portsmouth Community Theater group, and Priscilla Wimpers, who's a board member and one of the founders, I believe, of that organization, has also been with our committee from the very outset.
Okay, so essentially your committee was charged by the town council then in 2008
yes, right.
to look specifically at the feasibility of a center in Portsmouth. Now, what motivated that? Would they just decide all of a sudden that we need more arts or something in Portsmouth, or we need more public things to do? Do you have any idea what the background was to?
Well, I think it partly arose by my predecessor as chair of the Arts and Culture Committee, Eric Brody, who at that time was the president of the Portsmouth Arts Guild. And he had gotten together with Bob Driscoll, the town administrator at the time, and Bob thought that an arts center might be a useful thing in terms of improving the quality of life in the community. So it was decided that we would take a look at some of the town-owned properties and see if we could find something that might be suitable.
Sure, and I know you all did a survey in 2010. I think I took it, as a matter of fact. I recall doing that to gauge public opinion about this. How did the residents of Portsmouth respond to this, and what was the consensus?
Well, our committee decided that the best place to start the whole process of looking at an arts center obviously would be to get input from the entire community. So we acquired the services of a consultant, And fortunately, we were granted money from the Rhode Island Foundation as well as the Portsmouth Arts Guild to pay the consultant. And we did a paper survey to all residences in the town of Portsmouth, about a little over 7,000. The response rate was about 13%, which according to our consultant was a very good response rate for a paper survey. From that survey, also the margin of error was only about 3%, so the results were
Did
pretty,
reflect a
pretty
Portsmouth
credible,
opinion,
right?
yeah.
Right. And really, we learned two prime things from that survey. One was that, in general, the population was very interested in the types of programming that could be offered. They felt that the quality of life would be enhanced in the community. So that was on the positive side. On the other hand, the other thing we learned was that, in general, probably partly due to the economic climate that we find ourselves in,
Nobody wanted to pay for it.
no one wanted to pay for it,
Yeah.
or they didn't want to use public funding in terms of a bond issue.
Sure.
But there was significant support in terms of people indicating a willingness to buy memberships
Sure.
and attend classes.
I think it's a
and
great idea
tuitions
myself.
and that kind of thing. So,
Yeah.
so they were willing to support it, but not through the tax system.
Now, you gave a report to the town council last year on this. What was your basic conclusion in your report?
Well, the report that we delivered to the council last November indicated that we felt that an arts center was feasible in the community. We narrowed down the location to basically one. We felt it was feasible only if we could use an existing building. And we narrowed that down to what is referred to as the old Coggeshall School on East Main Road, formerly the home of the Penfield School and currently partly leased by the Goodnick Island Christian Academy. The advantage of that space, and we were only looking at about half of the building, about 12,000 square feet. And the advantage there would be with 6 classrooms, an auditorium / gymnasium with a stage at one end. We had the basic space that we needed to move into and operate immediately. We had also explored the possibility of new construction, but when we knew that the taxpayers didn't want to support a bond issue,
Sure.
that kind of put that out of the picture, and therefore we had narrowed it down just to that one site. It's probably the only town-owned site that
It fits
would make
what
sense
you
for
need.
this project.
Now, how do you plan to finance this then?
Well, we in the course of our study, we visited, I think, 9 other art centers in Massachusetts, Rhode Island, and one in Connecticut, and found that virtually all of them operated without any significant municipal funding. So the main sources of income come from foundations, like Van Buren, Champlin, those organizations that generally support the arts. And also we would anticipate a membership arrangement. There would be tuitions for both art and music classes, summer camps for kids, ticket sales for the performing arts, and that kind of thing. So we are convinced that it can be operated on a self-sustaining basis without any ongoing municipal support.
Now, what about the Christian Academy? Would they be able to continue operating in the same school, or how would that work?
No, actually, the space we're looking at is the space currently occupied by the Christian Academy. They have a lease that allows them to remain there until July 1st of 2014. So we'd be looking at that date as the earliest that we could possibly, take over that space. Sure. The Christian Academy is in the northern end of the building. The significant advantage there is that everything is at grade level, so there are no real issues regarding handicap access and that sort of thing. The southern end of the building, basically 2 levels, one above grade, one below grade. and there are significant issues with the building itself that would make it extremely difficult or very expensive to move into.
So what's the next step in the process then?
Well, the next step, we asked the town council to schedule a workshop, or ask them if they would
Public workshop.
agree to a public workshop.
Sure.
And they unanimously agreed to do that. And we've kind of been waiting for the new town administrator to come in so that we can get that scheduled. And actually, he may be very helpful to the process, since the town of Barnstable, where he came from, has, I believe, 2 ongoing successful art centers currently. So hopefully he'll have some input to the process, and we can get a workshop scheduled within the next couple of months.
I hope so. I personally think an art and cultural center would be a great addition to the quality of life here in Portsmouth. And please let me know and let us know in the PEDC how we can help. I hope you'll be able to come back to us perhaps in 6 months and tell us how everything is going.
I would very much like to, and hopefully things will be going ahead at that point.
That's great, and maybe we can help advertise your public meeting, your public workshop.
Great, that would be very much appreciated.
Well, thank you, George, and thank you for joining us. I look forward to seeing you in another edition of It's the Economy.